You heard it all there. I don't need to say very much after that. Thank you for playing that video. That was a great intro. So hello, good morning. Thank you for asking me to come and present to you, to present to a room full of people. It's amazing. I feel like coming with a little square frame around my head, because that's how I've spent the last 18 months. So absolutely delightful to be here. My name's Rob Searle. So I'm the head of 5G for Virgin Media O2. And as our power couple, new power couple status announces, 5G is very much part of reimagining connectivity and a central pillar of our mission to be the UK's connectivity champion. This is Elizabeth. She's joining me today. Unfortunately, you got the wrong person to be here. Elizabeth is much better at this than I have, but despite the fact that she's only here digitally, but Elizabeth, you are on film now, so no shouting at the children. I know what you like. She will shine a light on some of the activities that we're currently engaged in and start to demonstrate the real power and potential of 5G. So, without further ado, as well as being the UK connectivity champion, we have a very rich history in being the customer champion. Working with and listening to our customers has been a vital ingredient in our success to date. This has served us really well, and it will never be as important as it is now. As we progress into the world of 5G, listening to and working with our customers, potential customers, and just people in general. We had a great chat out there in the green room with two guys who are doing the medical stuff that you'll see later. Just those kind of chats are absolutely vital to getting that insight about how 5G can really transform society and deliver on that value. And that's going to be pivotal to our success and pivotal to the success of kind of UK PLC in general. The core reason for this is that the capabilities that 5G brings are hugely significant. And I hope to give you some insight into what those are today. But, and this is the really important bit, capability on its own is not enough to realize value. And that value is significant. The UK government published a report on 5G in their 5G strategy in, I think it was early 2018, and they sort of forecast something like $11 trillion worth of GDP growth by 2035 globally. So that value potential is huge. And when I say capability alone is not enough, I probably need to explain myself and elaborate a little bit on that. And I'll go back to, everybody looks really young in this room. I'll go back to the advent of 3G, and you probably won't remember this. But 3G for mobile technologies came out in about 2000. And from a technology point of view, it was a huge, huge step forward, right? In terms of data rates, going from virtually nothing to 5-6 megabits per second. Sounds a bit rubbish now, but it was monumental in the day. So that was released in 2000, and kind of, we all know what happened. Pretty much nothing. Nothing really happened. Again, having a conversation earlier, they went, oh, I got a 3G phone. It was a bit rubbish, didn't do very much. So it wasn't really, so this was 2000, it wasn't really until 2007, and some, the introduction of the smartphone, the iPhone, and then the onward development of the application community and all those apps that we use today. That was the ecosystem, that was the moment that capitalized on that technology change. And that's what I mean when I say capability in itself is enough. There needs to be collaboration, partnership, and time to do this. And I think that's my key message today, really. And that leads me sort of nicely onto the next slide, if this button is working. So 5G is absolutely a journey. We have a journey ahead of us. Yes, 5G is here today. There's a lot of hype about it. You've seen it in all the shops. And as you saw in the last slide, I think we're live in 180 towns and cities and continuing to grow, and it will continue to grow. But there is much work to do, and it all lies ahead of us. And that's across kind of three axes for me. The first one is spectrum. So for us in the mobile technology industry, that gets us all excited. For those of you outside the mobile industry, you probably don't know what it is. It's basically our ability to operate in radio space, and it's our lifeblood. It's our liquid gold. It's what makes us tick. And the UK and the MNOs have been through a spectrum auction, and they will continue to do this, which is a bit of a money spinner for UK government, but something that's really important to us. And as Virgin Media O2, we've just come out of that with a really good positioning, actually. We've taken a leadership position in what we call low-band spectrum, which is low frequency, which means it goes a heck of a long way. So it's great for us in terms of rolling out our services, giving you guys access to 5G far more quickly than we could do without it, and delivering into buildings. It's quite difficult for 5G at the moment. It stops if it hits a brick. So this kind of evolution of spectrum and the ability for us to deploy low band is really, really important for getting 5G services out there. And we've also secured a big block of high band spectrum. That's great for the blazing fast speeds. Everybody talks about speeds when they talk about 5G, and we need that spectrum. So from a Virgin Media O2 perspective, absolutely ideally positioned to deliver on any of the use cases we can think of in the future, and that's hugely exciting. So that's the first axis. The second axis is capability. Although we have 5G now, we're really only experiencing one of sort of three key blocks of capability that 5G brings. And that's called enhanced mobile broadband. So that's delivering speed and capacity to your phone. So when you put your speed checker, the dial goes up to the red bit, and it's really exciting. That's the only bit we've got, but there's more to come, and I'll kind of build on that in a little bit. So that's fantastic in its own right, but it's not the end of the story. And then the third piece is collaboration. So picking up on the importance of building partnerships and collaborating to reveal and realize that value that's enabled from the capabilities. Events like this, the conversations I've had earlier, are kind of vital to engaging and getting businesses to come forward and participate in building the transformation that lies ahead of us and ensuring that the promise of 5G that was articulated by that massive financial figure by the government, believe it or not, it's a big number, so the promise is there, but really making sure that promise is realized and those benefits are captured. So, I left you possibly wondering what those other two capabilities were that was beyond blazing fast speed. So I'll go through all three, just so that you're fully educated on what 5G is and how exciting it is. So the first one we call enhanced mobile broadband. And I like this slide. It kind of brings the whole, it gives the vista of exactly what 5G can enable. And it's not just a phone, right? It's all sorts of things. And I think that's, the key message of where 5G can go. So enhanced mobile broadband, speed, and capacity. So that's great for things like augmented reality, virtual reality, extended reality, streaming ultra-high definition media on a mobile basis, mobile office, really just, and for us, managing that data growth that you guys are driving. So everybody's using their phones more and more. You can't be picking it up every 3 seconds and driving data, and that is driving us year on year about 60% growth. So 5G really helps make sure that you still get tip-top service as you use more and more services. So enhanced mobile broadband, here now, really important. So the second one is something called ultra-reliable, low-latency communications, which is a very friendly term, combined with mobile edge computing, which is another friendly term. That's all about driving down latency of networks. And latency is request response. So the time it takes for you to request a service from a network to the time it takes the network to give it back to you. So that has huge potential to transform a number of services. We were having a chat with the medics out there about remote surgery. That's the one everybody talks about, but it's a bit far-fetched. I certainly don't want to be first in line for remote surgery. But you could envision a time when you have a surgeon in Wolverhampton and your knee is under some kind of surgical robot in Cornwall, and you have haptic services with low latency, and the request response means that you can operate safely in the future. It's a small use case, but it was the one we were talking about earlier and really exciting, and I think you might get a bit of a demo later about some of that stuff. But also intelligent transport systems, autonomous vehicles, the factory of the future, where robots need to communicate in real time to be effective. All of those things have a huge amount of efficiency benefit, and we're starting to see some of it now in tests and trials. But low latency capability for that is absolutely transformative, and it's needed to bring those things to life. So that's the second piece. The third piece is massive machine type communications, another very friendly term. So you'll have heard of IoT, the Internet of Things. If you ask somebody what it is, you'll probably get about 55 different definitions. But massive machine type communications is all about density of sensors in the network. So you can get millions of sensors in a square kilometre. And that really, in terms of why that's useful, there are a huge number of use cases, and people talk about the smart vision of the future. Smart cities, smart communities, whether that's healthcare, whether that's travel, whether that's education. Healthcare is a really interesting one. So, again, we seem to have picked up a medical theme this morning. If you think of MMTC in the future and the ability for dense sensors, which require much lower power under 5G, therefore they're cheaper, they're smaller, and they last a lot longer. You put those in devices, wearables, shoes, you start to monitor your vital statistics, if you can get over the big brother thing, right, and handing over your data. And it starts to look about, where you've been, and you couple that with machine learning, massive data analytics capability, and you start to analyze behavior at a societal level. 5G becomes important in terms of that vision of moving healthcare from curative, you get ill, you get fixed, to preventative. We can learn so much that's enabled through 5G in that kind of use case. So, there are those three capabilities. I think I could talk for ages about the potential use cases, but that's what can be transformed into value, whether that's pound, shilling, and pence, or that's just well-being and societal well-being. There's a huge amount of value there. So, those capabilities are huge, and they'll be delivered over the next few years, right? So, massive machine-type communications and ultra-reliable low latency is not here yet. Certainly not in a major public network. So that will come over the next few years. And I'll come back to the point about collaboration. We need to collaborate and partner to exploit those capabilities, to understand how they're going to have practical relevance and how they're going to translate to that $11 trillion of value by 2035. And 2035 is there for a reason. It's a journey, right? So that collaboration, again, is the vital ingredient to make this happen. We need to have more conversations like this. We need people to understand those capabilities and be able to bring it to bear in terms of a practical sense. And that's what Elizabeth's going to talk about now, waiting there very patiently while I waffle on. So Elizabeth's going to take us through some of those actual proof of concepts and trials and products that we're starting to develop based on some of the 5G capabilities. So Elizabeth, over to you.
Morning. Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Ponsford. I work in our business innovation team and been very privileged to have led a programme over the last couple of years to look at 5G and really start to understand its use cases and benefits for businesses. I'm focused entirely on business, and while we will all, I hope, get to enjoy the high speeds and capacity that we're going to see as consumers with downloading Netflix really fast and everything, the really exciting and probably more transformational use cases and applications will affect business, as I hope Rob's brought to life. So what I wanted to do is just talk about the experience that we've had working with customers over the last couple of years to really explore and validate those new capabilities and the tests and trials that we've done. So we'll just start over the last couple of years, we have run discovery sessions and workshops with about 50 different companies, all shapes and sizes, to start to explore all those different use cases. And there were literally tens, hundreds of them that of applications that can benefit business. And when we looked at how they really will transform businesses, I would say that it sits comfortably into three categories. The first is around helping businesses become more efficient, helping them to protect revenue and grow revenue. So really about changing business models and the way they operate. The second is about what 5G applications can mean to their employees. How can it help to start empower and safeguard and really mobilize employees? And I think now with this current situation about COVID and us all working remotely, we've really been reliant on technology. And these technologies are going to totally evolve to support people working that much more and really do that in an interactive and safe way. And then the last is around how 5G applications can help improve the experience that we give to our business customers, to our own customers. So it's about helping them serve and interact in new, immersive and very personalized ways. And aside from this, there are also the other benefits about things like sustainability and compliance, but these very much drive what we see as the benefits of 5G and what we've certainly heard from our customers. So I know Rob's done a great job at introducing what some of those use cases are, but I was just going to touch a moment more on each of those capabilities. So if we start with enhanced mobile broadband, in its earliest days, it will be, as Rob says, about greater capacity and the speed offered by enhanced mobile broadband. We're looking at 8 to 10 times faster speeds and ultimately 10 times lower latency, the time it takes to respond. And as Rob mentioned, this is going to really support use cases around augmented, virtual and assisted reality. And you can see the example here of using augmented reality in a store for stock management, for example, the ability to scan a code and see stock easily and get information about it. That could work in a distribution capacity. But if you're a shopper, imagine being able to scan an item of food on the shelf and start to see in an interactive way a pop-up of an advert for it, information about how it may supplement your diet or all the nutritional information that you want, but done in a more immersive way. The other one that is actually starting to happen now is about being able to buy something and then visualize how it will look in your home. I think we've all done something similar or wished we'd had something similar with buying something large like a sofa. How would that fit in our home? And the other area is around HD video. So I'm just going to touch briefly on some of the proof of concepts that we've run over the last couple of years. The first, it uses computer vision or video analytics and AI to understand the movement and behaviors of people. In this case, we've worked with a large transport operator in a station. And by doing that, using video analytics and AI, starting to map and accurately count movement of people throughout that station and how they dwell and interact. And where that's really useful is it's giving insights, actionable insights in real time, so it can allow station staff to intervene if there's large crowd buildups, for example, and congestion, or even challenges around social distancing at the moment. And it can also, from a historical perspective, allow planners to think about how they resource stations, how the station layout, even the usage of retail units within the station to start driving and optimizing efficiencies within the station environment. This could work equally well with a retail store, and we're deploying a very similar type of solution in some of our own retail stores now to really understand people's interaction and engagement with different products and services to ensure they're having the best possible customer experience. The other piece of work that we've done with a large utilities company, Northumbrian Water Group, we ran a series of proof of concepts last year, two of which I'm going to call out today, which both use augmented reality. The first is the one in the middle where you'll see a guy wearing a headset and with a camera on the side of his head and a small screen beneath him. What that's giving him is the ability to do the job hands-free with step-by-step instructions delivered in front of his face. So it's about enabling workers to do their jobs accurately, compliantly, and safely. Now, with this product, which we've now launched, AR Remote Expert, it's also giving that person in the field the ability to initiate a video call if he or she runs into trouble, to be able to collaborate with one or a group of people to be able to assist them for troubleshooting, training, and lots of other use cases. So it's really mobilizing workforces. And this is where 5G either now or in the future, will really improve that experience through the faster capacity and processing of data. And then the final proof of concept that I wanted to touch on today that we've also done with Northumbrian Water Group, they have a challenge in terms of monitoring their assets in that most of their water pipes are hidden underground. So how do engineers accurately identify the location of pipes and valves? Rob, if you wouldn't mind just clicking on the video to show how using an augmented reality, I'm not sure that's going to work now, augmented reality can allow engineers to visualize what's in front of them. Actually, this is not going to play, I don't think, but you could.
Well, I'll just, if there's anybody who can play the video, that would be absolutely marvellous, because this isn't doing it. Okay. Just bear with us 2 seconds. We're getting it.
But I'll talk over it. I'll talk over it anyway.
Go for it.
This allows engineers to visualize in 3D where those water pipes are and the critical valves. Here we go. And thank you. And at the points where the critical valves are, bring up information about those valves, which can talk about when they were last checked, how they're maintained, the type of valve itself. And so that's giving them the information they need to do the job much more accurately and efficiently. So these things we can do now over 4G, and they are products that we can actively use now. But this is about starting businesses on that journey, because in the future, as I said before, this is about enhancing those experiences that use large amounts of data and processing that quickly. So looking further into the future, Rob mentioned the medical demo and how ultra reliable, low latency communications will enable things like that, the remote surgery. It's a shame I'm not with you in person today, as I'd love to be seeing that. But this is going to be enabling use cases around autonomous vehicles and intelligent transport systems, where being able to move goods around the country, vehicle to vehicle communications. And where it really comes into its own is around what we call Industry 4, with the significant benefits to manufacturing. This is about bringing together collaborative robotics and automation to achieve business outcomes, both from people and machines working together. It starts to enable use cases around asset tracking and monitoring, predictive maintenance, and connected and autonomous vehicles in the future. And doing that in a really resilient and secure way. Now, before last year, we did a large piece of work with Worcester Bosch and Ericsson to test how that would look in a factory environment, so low latency communications. And we started testing use cases around remote expert, preventative maintenance, and HD video for sensing and monitoring. We calculated that this would improve productivity by up to 2% overall. So when you start to extrapolate that into your own businesses, you can, I hope, start to see the huge financial and operational benefits of doing that. And then I think Rob more than brought this to life with massive machine type communications, but this again is about looking at the use of IoT in the future on a large scale, which we will see in the factory of the future, the store of the future, the hospital and the school of the future, where we're starting to be able to collect information that drives decision making. Now, I heard a stat just this week that 40% of all data generated now is non-human, so used by machines. We expect that to get even more, take up a much higher amount of the data that we supply. And this is very much something that we will see increasingly in the future. It's how we collect data and orchestrate that to drive that decision making. So all this sounds very futuristic, but actually there is a way to bring that forward, and that is through private networks. So as Rob has spoken about, the public network as 5G is about an evolution, it's a journey. But we can actually bring some of these future-facing use cases of ultra-reliable, low latency and massive machine type communications forward with a private network. And what do we mean by that? It's about creating a dedicated network for key industry activities, reliable and secure in a dedicated environment to ensure that mission-critical applications can be supported. And we're really pleased to be rolling out one of the first multi-site private network deployments in the UK with a manufacturing company right now, who are looking at exploring how this can support a range of use cases that I've touched on already, but a huge range of use cases and applications that's really going to help with those three benefits about driving absolute operational efficiency, about how to safeguard and empower their staff, and of course, deliver a far better customer experience. Now, this is a journey, as Rob said. It's not going to be an overnight revolution, it's an evolution. But we'd absolutely encourage you to start thinking now about how your business could and should be using 5G applications in the future. And of course, as I said before, many of them are available now over 4G, but will only be enhanced by 5G, whereas some of them will be more future focused, will rely on 5G in the future. But we'd love for you to start thinking about what that could mean for your business. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That came through loud and clear. Well done. And thank you for sort of bringing some of those use cases to life. I think that was really useful. So that just leaves me to wrap up. I want you just to take away a few key things from what we said today. Firstly, the capability of 5G is huge. And the potential value to be extracted from those capabilities is also very large. 5G is a journey. You've heard it quite a bit today. There is much work to do, and it does lie ahead of us. So we're thinking, you know, the next 10 years is when you'll start to see these value really come to us. So it really does lie ahead of us. And I think the most important thing that I want to get across is that the capability does not mean value by right. It's going to take collaboration, partnership, building of ecosystems to really bring those capabilities alive and deliver that potential value promise. So we should all be really excited, but we all need to get involved. Thank you.